What does riding a bike and the bar exam have in common? Find out the answer to that, I mean, if there is an answer to that, on this episode of Unbillable. It's an interesting thing the way people will bring questions and information to me as an attorney. I mean, for some people, I'm just their friend. It's interesting. The whole point, in many ways, of this vlog is to like give everybody that friend that's a lawyer. Like, a lot of people don't have a friend that's a lawyer, so maybe now this can kind of be that source of friendship for you. Maybe you gain a little bit of information, but my friends, they like to glean information off me. Just recently, I had someone that I know pretty closely start to talk to me about kind of like a licensing exam, right? So they have this licensing exam coming up, and they started talking to me about like my experiences in taking the bar exam. I mean, if you think about it, the bar exam is essentially a licensing exam. Without passing it, you can't have your license to practice law. So it's a licensing exam in sort of the scariest, most ominous way. And so the person was asking me for sort of test advice. And what's interesting for me is I got to think back about how I was able to really focus my attention and my time on studying for the bar exam. And the answer boils down to like, I was really selfish. I took myself away from anything and everything that had any importance to anybody else and focused on one thing and one thing only. And that was my bar exam. That was, again, my bar exam. I focused it in on myself. I stopped doing everything and anything that you would think of as normal, as far as like returning phone calls, emails, or text messages. I mean, all that kind of stuff got done in extra time. It's amazing how unimportant it becomes when you have something far more pressing to deal with. And for me, that's what I decided to do. I just pushed everything and everyone to the side and decided for this about 3.5 month period, I'm going to make studying for the bar exam my job. I mean, if you think this is a joke, it's not a joke. I would wake up in the morning and go to the bar study prep class, and when that was over, I would have a lunch and go straight from lunch. I mean, lunch at home, nothing fancy. I would go straight from there, not to my law school, but to the main campus of a university where I didn't know anybody. And the reason I would go there is if I didn't know anybody, there'd be no one to talk to me, no one to distract me. I'd find a space in the back corner and spend all my time studying. Of course, like anybody else, I would need a break and I would have flashcards. And so I'd go for a little walks. That was my break, and I'd take the flashcards with me. I would be doing the flashcards on the break. Not exactly the best break, but I knew that I would need to do just a little bit more, maybe a lot of it more. I needed to do more in order to pass this exam, and I was focused on doing that. And in reality, it's not so much that I was focused on passing the exam. I was focused on bringing myself to a point where I'd be able to leap over the standard that that exam provides. And that's really the advice for anybody taking any kind of test, really, especially the licensing type of test. This is a test for you to show your own knowledge, your own skill. You have to focus on yourself in order to be able to show that. It really flows off of the reverse engineering conversation. Your navigation never loses sight of where it's going. It never even thinks about what someone else is saying in the car, or like what the other color car is, or what the rain or weather is like outside. It knows one thing: we're going there, how's the fastest way to get there, and it stays laser focused on it. Never takes its eyes off of it. True. That's what you have to do. I mean, I use this analogy of a kid riding a bike all the time. You never hear a kid getting on to ride a bike saying like, oh my God, I might get hurt. Like, wait till you teach your niece how to ride a bike. She's not gonna say like, but I could fall down. She's never gonna say that to you, not even once. She's never gonna say like, but I could get hurt. Never once. She's going to say, I wanna ride a bike. I wanna get the training wheels off. It's like, she's gonna want to advance it at all costs. And then when she falls down and gets hurt, even though she's crying, she's gonna suck it up like she's never sucked it up before in order to get back on the bike and do it again. Like the passion that a child shows to ride a bike, the commitment to riding the bike, the 100% commitment to like getting it done, it's just naturally in you as a human, but you don't realize it. You like recess it to be polite. You recess it to like be part of the community, but a little kid doesn't. A little kid's like, Daddy, I wanna go ride my bike. Daddy, ride the bike. I never really thought of myself as smart. I never was the top scoring student or anything. I mean, I knew I wasn't too dumb, like slightly above average, maybe B+, except when it came to talking, of course. But education, grades, B+. See, but that ended up being okay. It provided me a reminder that I needed to work hard. It reminded me to pay attention, to never miss class, to take notes. I needed to put in extra work even when others didn't. B+. I knew who I was. That is why you have to do it for you. Nothing else, no one else. You won't tell others the truth about how you feel, your thoughts, your fears. But then you turn around and ask those same people for advice? How can you take advice from people who don't know the truth? Only you know the truth, and you have to make decisions for yourself. I always liked making decisions for myself. I had more control that way. It didn't require gathering so much input from other people. Sometimes putting yourself first is the right choice, but how do you know the right time to put yourself first? When I give advice now, besides specific legal advice, I try to give advice based on what's worked for me, my experiences, and often things that have worked for me can work for others or be beneficial to them. Now, as you set a goal, think of no one but yourself. Be selfish. Set a goal, a destination, something that scares you. In that fear, there will be growth. For me, the best approach was to focus on myself. I'm not saying this is the only approach. I'm just saying this is what worked for me. Before a big test, law school exams, the LSAT, the bar exam, even before trials that I'm preparing for to this day, I take a moment and I remind myself, I didn't get into my first choice university. At one point, I even dropped out of college. I transferred into a junior college. It upset my parents. I remember that. Ignoring the doubts of my family, ignoring the doubts of my friends. I remember that. Feeling alive, following my own path, focusing on myself. These things sound simple, but they're not easy. But if you can truly stay focused on yourself, like truly focused on yourself, nothing will be able to distract you. An old Chinese proverb says, "The gem cannot be polished without friction, nor man perfected without trials." So don't shy away from friction if you want to shine. Stay focused on yourself and sleep easy when you know you've given it your all. This focus, when done correctly, it can help you. For some people, it's about appearances, a big house, a fancy car, but can those goals truly sustain you? Those who focus on themselves find a way to put in the extra work necessary to succeed. I stay focused on myself. Are you staying focused on you?